Right, good evening guys. Welcome to this week's Friday Waffle. Yeah, so much for me not making these. Every time I say I'm not going to make them, I always make them. You know, the thing is, it's one of these things, and if you guys, any of you people, make content, you'll probably know that you've really got to be in the right frame of mind, you've got to be in the right mood. If you're too tired, whatever, then that can affect your ability to want to make content, especially, I don't know, something like this, where you're just kind of talking to the camera. So yeah, I am recording this early this week because I've got something planned on Friday and I've also got something planned tomorrow, so I'm actually recording this on Wednesday, so I've got to try and pretend it's the weekend and I'm in weekend mode. Sadly not, but anyway, I hope you're all well. I've had, I mean, if you joined me on last Friday's Waffle, the live stream which I did, I'll be honest, I couldn't be arsed actually doing it. But you know what? When I actually started it, I did enjoy it. But I was kind of touching on my my job position. Now you're probably thinking, Christ almighty, this guy has some number of jobs, and you know what, you wouldn't be wrong. I have had quite a few jobs in the last sort of 4 or 5 years. Thing is, prior to up to 2019, I only really had 2 jobs. I mean, I had my first job, I was there 13 years, I got made redundant. My second, I had a couple of real shitty jobs in between for a couple of years. But then the last big job, I was there for 19 years. So I'm not one of these people that that chops and changes jobs. The last 4 or 5 years, there's been good reasons for me taking on new jobs. You know, there's been better offers, lack of travelling or trying to get less travelling and that kind of stuff. So yeah, the job I'm in at the moment, it's not going as well as I was hoping it was going to go. I was full of I wouldn't say excitement, but I really thought before I started that it was going to be a job that I was going to love. But unfortunately, it's just it's not really. I'm not enjoying it. I'll leave it at that. You've always got to be careful what you say in social media, but I'm not really enjoying it at the moment. So anyway, yeah, this getting back to the job situation. I was last week. I was down in Birmingham. Was it Thursday, Friday? I think it was. Now, Birmingham from my front door to where I was 300 miles, which is a long way. It's a long way to drive. And what I did, I mean, I don't mind driving down because you're driving down during the day, but coming up, I had a full day. Didn't leave Birmingham until like 4 o'clock, and then I had like 6 hours to get home. And you're driving, and it was pretty poor weather. It was torrential rain at one point, and of course it's pitch black. You've got the bright lights, and I don't know whether it's just me, but I find because I've got contact lenses, I do get quite a bit of glare, and it can make it quite difficult. It gives you very, very tired eyes. So I had that was last week, and then I had to go back down Monday and Tuesday. So I drove down on Monday, and then I came back, well, it was last night, and I didn't get in until it was about 9:30 at night, and I left at 3:30. So again, that was 6 hours in the car. So that's 2 trips to Birmingham in about 5 days, which is pretty tiring. But anyway, right, I'm going to try and keep these. I was very, very conscious the week before, when I did the pre-recorded waffle. I was just complaining about stuff. I was moaning, saying how shit the waffle is and why does anybody want to watch it. And I have to say, I was blown away with the positivity and the comments about the waffle. I don't know why, but people do seem to enjoy me talking complete bollocks. I do kind of understand, because things like, but you know, the fact that I call it the Friday Waffle, which means it comes out every Friday, it becomes part of somebody's routine. And as most people, as human beings, we do enjoy routine. We're happy having a routine. You know what you're going to be doing, and people, you get in a nice comfort zone with routine. And I think the Friday Waffle for some people is part of that routine, and they look forward to it. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I've always said that I would stop doing videos, or certain types of videos, if one, I'm not enjoying it, or secondly, people are not enjoying it. Because why would you want to do this just for the sake of doing it if nobody's actually watching it? But since you lot still seem to enjoy it, I will continue. I know I said a few weeks ago that I would maybe knock it back to like once a fortnight, once a month, or else just kind of do it as and when I can be bothered. And I'm still going to stick to that, because you'll probably notice there's been a lot less content on my channel probably in the last couple of years. Just different things. The fact that I've started going to cook school. I've been doing it now for since January, so I'll be coming up to almost a year. But there's just other things going on in my life, and YouTube should never become the priority. It's always going to have to be, like anything else, it's got to be a kind of hobby. And hobbies is one of these things that you do when you can be arsed, or if you can't be arsed, then you're not going to do it. You've got to kind of work your life around things. Tonight I was I was looking at my phone, and it was a headline, and it was talking about David Walliams back in 2007 when they did Little Britain. And in particular there's a character, I can't remember what he's called, Des Key or something. He's a character, and he's playing the part of like a children's entertainer, and part of that he gets two members of the audience to come on stage to play Hide the Sausage, and he effectively sexually molests them. I know it's done tongue in cheek, but I went to see what do you call it, Little Britain live. I says, yeah, it must have been about 15 years ago, maybe more than that. And I remember that was one of the sketches he did. He got two people out the audience, and he had them on the floor, and he was like feeling them up. I know like it's this kind of for comedy, but there's been an absolute outrage. Apparently somebody shared this on YouTube. There's been an outrage about how he's acted, and saying it's completely inappropriate, and it's obviously a kind of a sly dig at things, people like Jimmy Savile and what have you. I watched the sketch. There is one on YouTube, and people were saying that the guys that get asked to come up are like stooges, they're actors, but apparently that is not the case. And if you watch it, it actually makes for quite uncomfortable viewing. But it's funny because obviously, what's his name, Matt Lucas is gay, and Little Britain, it was all about stereotypes. Rightly or wrongly, it would play sketches on different stereotypes, different people, that exist in the world. And both him and David Walliams have said that Little Britain could not be made now. You simply couldn't make it, because we've reached a place in society now where it's almost impossible to make jokes about anybody, because for fear of upsetting somebody. I think we've gone completely wrong. Where people have forgotten what jokes are. Jokes should be, it's about making you laugh. Don't get me wrong, there's stuff that probably went on back in the day I don't agree with, but you know, it was all a product of its time. You look at something like On the Buses and whatever, you know, Benny Hill show where he was like he was getting chased around a park by bikini clad women with massive knockers. Nothing wrong with that, I have to say, but yeah, you know, we've just, it's the old snowflake brigade now. You can't say anything about anybody for fear of reprisal or getting sued for upsetting somebody. But yeah, I just thought that Little Britain thing was interesting. Anything else gaming wise? Massive thanks to Dean Swain. Dean's one of the guys that does Retro Asylum, a brilliant podcast. One good thing about, and there's not many good things about having to travel to Birmingham there and back. I listened to quite a few podcasts when I was going up or going down, I should say, and coming back up yesterday. And I was listening to Dean was interviewing, I can't remember the name of the guy, but is it Alex Crowley possibly? Apologies, I've got that name wrong. And he's going to be opening up an arcade in the same area that Retro Man Cave has got his kind of gaming museum. And Dean mentioned that he's been playing a game for the Vextrex called Rocks and Saucers. And if that sounds familiar, it sounds a bit like Asteroids, then you're absolutely right. The guy that's written this game, I think it's the guy that actually devised the Vec Fever cartridge. And oh my good golly goodness, this guy has absolutely nailed Asteroids. I remember a video by one of my friends down the rabbit hole. He put out a video quite a number of years ago for the Vectrex, and he was asking, is it impossible to have an authentic Asteroids for the Vectrex? And he was asking the question, you know, is the Vectrex just not physically capable? Is it not powerful enough to run something like that? And I think he came to the conclusion that was the case. I mean, he compared, there is a couple of other kind of clones, is it Rockoroids, I think it was, by John Donzilla, might be talking nonsense, but there was a few kind of Asteroid clones that came out back in the day, and whilst they were good, they weren't as good as Asteroids. They just didn't feel the same. And this is down the rabbit hole, Kevin, he put out this video and he came to the conclusion, he looked at different versions and then he discussed why he felt that the Vectrex wasn't capable of putting out an authentic Asteroids. What I'll do is I'm going to try and remember. I'm terrible when I'm making these videos. I'll talk about stuff and I'll put a link to it below, or I'll put a picture of this, or I'll share a video, and I always forget, completely forget. I will try and put a link to that video that Down the Rabbit Hole put out. This is a good number of years ago. But anyway, Rock and Saucers, what an absolutely sublime version of Asteroids. I mean, you could be mistaken for thinking, or sorry, forgiven I should say, for thinking that this was actually Asteroids you were playing, because he's just nailed it. He's got the speed, the graphics, the sound, the little asteroids, you know, you've got the large UFO, you've got the small UFO as well. Absolutely nailed it. So if you've got a cartridge, you don't need the Vec Fever cartridge or even the Pytrex. I believe if you've just got one of the little, is it Vec Multi, I think it is, one of the flash cartridges that you can put ROMs onto, go and download it. Just type in Rock and Saucers download and you'll get the link. It's completely free, tiny little file. Stick it on, let me know what you think. But yeah, massive thanks to Dean for making me aware of that. You know, there is so many good things going on with the Vectrex right now. I think it's probably about the best time to own a Vectrex. There's just so many good games, and the stuff that they're doing, you know, the Pytrex, getting to play original games is absolutely phenomenal. So that's what I was playing that shortly, a wee while ago actually, just before I started recording this video. I was talking on Friday about wanting to sell my stuff. Now, a few people have been saying to me, why do you want to sell your stuff? Now, I tried to explain in the Friday Waffle, my Friday live waffle, that back in the day, you know, 10, 20 years ago, I was building up a collection of hardware, and it's great because, you know, back in the day, in the early days, you know, back in the 80s, I could never, my mum and dad couldn't afford an Atari 2600. I could only afford to have one computer. I couldn't afford a Spectrum and a Commodore 64. And then fast forward 20 years, you're suddenly in this position where you've got more disposable income. Computers are a lot cheaper, at least they were, when I started kind of collecting stuff. So yeah, over the preceding 15 years, I've been buying computers. I mean, I'm just to put it on the record, I'm going to actually try and think of all the computers that I've bought and I still own. I've got a Commodore 64, I've got a ZX81, I've got a VIC-20, I've got a Commodore Amiga, I've got an Atari 800, I've got an Atari 800 XL, I've got an Atari 130 XL, I've got an Atari 400, I've got two Amstrads, CPC 464s, I've got a Spectrum, I've got a ColecoVision, I've got two, I can never remember, what do they call it again? Video packs, yeah, I was trying to remember the name of that the other day there. I've got two video packs, I've got a 3DO, I've got an Atari Jaguar, I've got two Vextrexes, I've got all the modern consoles, the Switch, Xbox X, all that stuff. I've got PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, original Xbox, Xbox 360. I've got all the mini systems. I've owned N6. I've got a Mega Drive. I've got a SNES. I've got a Neo Geo Duo. I've got Nintendo Wii. I've got Mega Drive. Yeah, I've got all these different systems. And it was great because PC Engine, until it stopped working. It's great because at that point, you know, you craved to have all these systems, and then fast forward 20 years, you're now in a position where you can buy these systems and build up the collection. And I love, like a lot of collectors, Lord, I never say I'm a collector, I love the fact that I've got them. You know, if I want to play the original ColecoVision, I mean, the ColecoVision was a holy grail for me back in the day. I wanted Atari 2600, but my mum and dad couldn't afford it, and the ColecoVision, that was just, I wouldn't even entertain talking about that because that was so much more expensive. There was just simply no way. It's a bit like now I would love to own a Lamborghini. It's not going to happen, so I don't even think about it. And that was kind of like the ColecoVision. You know, I was never going to own one. So yeah, getting like fast forwarding to kind of 20 years ago, I was able to get all these systems, buy them all, get games for them, and it's fantastic. But I've now been in this hobby now for probably 20 years. I'm getting older. If I'm being honest, I rarely play many of them. I mean, there's not many systems that I actually do play. I mean, I do play the Xbox Series X. I still play my main cabs. I was playing the Vextrex earlier. There are so many of these systems. The original Atari 800, Atari 400, ColecoVision, PC Engine. All these systems, I can play the games perfectly. Not just on my PC, I can play it on my Steam Deck, I can play it on the Raspberry Pi, I can play it in various handhelds, so I don't need to own a PC Engine to be able to play Slaughterhouse or whatever. You know, it's the same with the 3DO, all these systems, Atari Jaguar, the emulation now is absolutely spot on. And I don't know, I just think it's time. It's my time to start getting rid of stuff. I know I'll probably will regret getting rid of some things once I've sold it, but I think right now I would rather get some decent money for them while they're still going A, while they're still working, and B, while people are still wanting to pay daft money for them. You know, it's like anything. You want to, I don't know, you might want to always do a parachute jump. You've always craved doing it, and then once you've done it, you think, you know what, I've done that, time to move on. And that's where I kind of feel I am with this, you know, classic gaming collection. I've got all these systems, I've owned them, I don't really play many of them, so I think it's now time to get my money back, hopefully make a bit of money, and I suppose ultimately give somebody else the chance of owning one of these systems, because, you know, there can't be that many original Atari 800s kicking about. I've got one, it's sitting in my cupboard. Now you're probably saying, well, why don't you just give it away? Well, I'm sorry, I can't afford to give these things away. I'm getting older, I need to think about my pension. Not that these systems are going to pay for my pension at all, but, you know, I just think I could probably use the money. And another thing as well is I have got it in my head that maybe 2-3 years down the line, I'm going to want to kind of move to a different house. There's been a lot of houses just built outside my back garden. There's, I think, 29 houses. They're still finishing doing them up. People haven't moved in yet. But I don't know what the neighbours are going to be like. This place could go downhill, and it might actually push me to kind of look for another house sooner rather than later. And the thought of actually having to move a lot of my kit from one house to another it's not something that I would look forward to doing at all. And so tonight was the first advert that I've put up, my Defender cabinet, the one I bought from Paul Spriggs. Sorry Paul, it's got to go, mate. I've got that up for sale on Gumtree. If there's anyone that's watching this video that's interested, let me know. The problem with that cabinet is it is absolutely, I'm quite sure I could actually, if there was a nuclear war, I'm quite sure I could actually hide inside, because it is so robust, it is bomb-proof. This thing's just, it's solid. I mean, I drove down to Newcastle and to pick it up from Paul. It was actually just over 2 years ago, because I did put a video out about it and I was looking at it tonight, so it was over 2 years ago. I've had great fun. If money wasn't an object and I was going to be staying put, then I would probably keep it. But right now, I can't really justify having 3 main cabinets. I don't need 3. So if I can get rid of that one, if I can sell it, then great, give somebody else the use of it. I'm going to be selling my Atari 800. If there's anything that I'm going to give you a wee list of things that I'm planning to sell. Now, I kind of feel awkward saying this. As we know, this, you know, systems, the whole retro gaming hobby has just kind of exploded. There's so many YouTube channels and all that kind of stuff. It's, you know, prices for stuff is mental. Now, I'm obviously going to try and get as much money as I can back for stuff. But, you know, if a friend was interested in buying something, I would knock a wee bit off. You know, it wouldn't be some kind of bargain basement price, because, you know, I want to try and recoup my money. I want to try and get as much as I can, especially in light of the fact that I don't know where I am, my job and that kind of stuff. I need to kind of, it'd be nice to have kind of some savings, just kind of as a wee kind of backup, kind of safety net type thing. But yeah, I'm going to be selling over the next probably 2-3 weeks. I'm going to be selling Atari 800, Atari 400, ColecoVision, the BBC, BBC Model B. Never play that. I've got the SD card and that with it. The systems that I'm going to keep both Vextrexes. I'm going to keep my Commodore 64. I'm going to keep my Atari 130 XL. I'm going to keep my Spectrum. Am I going to keep my Atari ST? I don't know. I'll need to think about it. Yeah, I'm going to keep the Mega Drive, the SNES. I think I will get rid of more stuff once I eventually get a Mister. I've been talking about that for quite a while now. One of my friends, Holly, she is in the process of organising a Mister for both myself and for herself. So hopefully I will be a Mister owner in the next couple of months, hopefully before that. I think once I get a Mister, excuse me, I've got my CRT TV, I think I'll be a lot happier getting rid of a lot more stuff, because I'm not going to be missing out on being able to play the games, because I've never been a person for collecting games. I've always been quite happy owning the real system and just using SD cards, EverDrive cartridges, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to miss, it's not like when I get rid of, say, the Atari 800, it's not like I'm going to be missing getting to play all these games that I've got, because I don't actually have any Atari 800 games. All the games that I've got are just ROMs. So if I get a Mister, I will be quite happy. I can just use that. So anyway, yeah, that's the plan. I want to sell stuff. I know I've been talking about it for a while, and I keep kind of forgetting about it and thinking, I don't really need to sell stuff. I am a hoarder, absolutely. Thing is, if I was going to sell something, I was going to get next to nothing for it, then I would just keep it. But yeah, I do need to make a concise effort to get rid of something. So if there's anything that I've mentioned that you're maybe interested in, let me know, and I'm sure we could come to some sort of deal. So that's kind of where I am at the moment, from a gaming point of view. Right, what I'm going to do, I've got a topic I want to talk about, but before I'm going to do it in reverse. I'm going to look at last week's waffle, and I'm going to, I think there was a few, before I forget, yeah, the calendar, Meister calendar. Now, in case anybody thinks, who is this prick? Who the hell does he think he is? He's some kind of big shot bringing out his own Meister calendar. I mean, seriously, what a wanker. You know what, folks? People have asked me for it. It's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fun. I'm making no money at all with this. I've ordered 10. No, I haven't. I've ordered 8 calendars. I think there's 6 people want them, so there might still be one spare. I reckon it's going to be, counting postage, it's going to be £10. It's going to be £10 to post it. So if you're wanting one, then let me know. But yeah, I did put out a wee video last week saying, you need to get your order in by Sunday, because Vistaprint were doing a 60% off. So rather than paying £14.50 for the calendar, it was coming in at £8.80. They're all getting delivered to me. I've placed the order, and then once I get them, I will send it out. It's a bit of fun. So if you're going to start slagging me, you can just fuck off right now. But if you do want a last minute Christmas present for your nearest and dearest, then I can't think of anything else better than a Meister calendar. Yeah. Right, anyway, let's have a look at the questions from last... stop talking. Right, okay, Country Roadist, I should eat sweets while I'm trying to talk. I remember one video you did where you were eating a pot noodle while you did the commentary. That's right, I think it was one of these Watch from Meisters, if I'm not mistaken. And Country Roadist goes on to say the Friday Waffle lives on, thank God. You know what, Country Roadist, it's people like you that make me continue to do this. I mean that. Jimmy TIC74, is there a podcast this week? Ian, I really enjoy listening to it at work. Thanks, buddy. I'm Al, not Ian. You know what? I haven't actually converted that to a podcast because it was a live one, but I'll do that. I'll do that tonight. I'll stick the podcast down below. GTB Films, your dad's pizza trumps my dad's one, but only just. In a similar series of events, my dad ended up having to cook us pizza one time. When it came to time to serve it up, we found it was upside down in the oven. What the fuck, Dad? Don't you know what way a pizza goes? My sister asks. Of course I do, but I had to turn it over to cook the other side, he explained. Ah, bless him. That's excellent. Right, one switch. Glad you're still at it. Thought it was possibly a bit off putting the clocks back. Sorry, clocks back. Blues talking. Yeah, you know what? I never actually thought that I was one of these people. There are people who actually get sad disease. Is it seasonal adjustment disorder or something? It's basically when you change the... It's when the nights get dark. There's more darkness in the world than light. And people, it's proven, it's been physically proven that people actually do get depressed in the dark, and I'm like that, absolutely like that. I love light nights. I love nice weather. I love being out with my dogs at 10 o'clock at night, going out on my bike at 8 o'clock at night. Right now it's 4:30, pitch black. Forget it. I mean, I take the dogs a walk every day, but their walks are a bit shit. They really are, because it's dark, it's wet, you can't let them off the lead or anything. So you know what, one switch, I may well have that, and I think you're right actually. A question for you: what gaming tie-up would you like to have seen happen between two or more coders, developers back in the day? For example, Jeff Minter, Martin Galway, Task Set and Golden Age Atari. That's an awesome question. Yeah, there was some obviously some awesome coders, you know, whether it was writing games, whether it was Sid tunes. I mean, Jeff Minter on his own admission, he was not an artist. You know, I don't think you could ever say any Jeff's games are particularly good when it comes to graphics. The graphics are always probably no more than functional, but what he does with the graphics and the sound is just sublime. But can you imagine some I don't know, could you imagine like Grid Runner with some cracking Sid tune, Martin Galway, you know, Rob Hubbard tune, like Delta, not Delta, like Sanction. Imagine like Sanction playing along to Grid Runner. I mean, you do get collab videos when it comes to, or collabs when it comes to like Sid music. I mean, Tony Crowther, although he's not really, he was more programming than like Sid music, but him and the late great Ben Douglas, they did some music. What was it called? The Wii music. What was it called again? We make music with instruments. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they used to do kind of collab stuff. There's been collab videos more recently with some kind of more recent artists, but yeah, I mean, you mentioned one of my favourite software companies. They didn't put out a lot of games, but two of the games that they put out are Stonewall classics. Task Set, you know, just unbelievable. Super Pipeline. Yeah, it'd be nice to have. It would be nice to have actually seen what guys like that could have done. I suppose when you think about it, a Commodore 64 game, there's not a lot of coding involved. I'm not trying to take away what these guys do, but I can't actually imagine there being enough space to have somebody like, say, Archer McLean and Jeff Minter doing a collab. I couldn't imagine that happening. It would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to actually see these guys getting together, just what they could have done, you know. You never know, that could be something that we might see in the future. Yeah, great question, One Switch, so thank you very much for that, Squire. Charlie Angel, don't end the Friday Waffle. As long as you guys want to see this, and I keep saying that, and I mean it even comes down to the channel itself, I will continue to do this. As long as people enjoy my videos, then I will continue to do them. Absolutely. Right, the late great, I'm saying the late great, that sounds like he's dead. He's not dead at all. Milthy Swinbuckle, hello again, Mainmeister. Good evening, Milthy. Here's a question to mull over now. I should really read Milfy's questions before going on camera because there's usually quite a lot to it. I'm going to have a quick drink of my cup of tea when I'm reading this. Excuse me. Is there an element in games that doesn't get touched on that you think might improve the game or even the genre of the game? For example, the things that bother me with fighting, brawl and sports games are how the character or team you play tend to have unlimited energy, or in some shoot 'em up games your bullets flow from you in a constant stream, so you just keep firing knowing there is no reason to stop and time your shots. And with a lot of games independent of genre, the fact that it's more about memorising something of the pattern than reacting to the enemy who should try and counter you reacting to what you do. Take fighting as an example. In a real life situation, if you were to get into a scrap and go hell for leather at your enemy, throwing punches and kicks without stopping to take a breath, see how long you would last before you were flat on your back and blowing out your arse just before you got pummeled. I believe that if these elements got addressed more in games, the experience would be much better. Anyway, not sure if you agree, but I do wonder if you two are bothered by these things, or perhaps by another element in gameplay that I ain't touched on in here. Yeah, I mean, an interesting subject, Milfy. I mean, certainly older games, you were limited with memory. Older games, I mean, arcade games were the first video games, home games for computers and consoles. They came along after arcade games. So arcade games you need to always remember that arcade games were written for one reason and one reason only, and that was to make money. It wasn't really to be enjoyable. I don't think the companies really gave a shit whether you enjoyed the game or not. They wanted you to keep putting coins in. Whether or not you enjoyed the experience was another thing. I suppose technically they would want you to enjoy it, because then if you didn't enjoy it, you're not going to put money in. But yeah, video games, there was very, very little in the way of memory. Graphics were simplistic. And I suppose when you think about it, like, even AI was very simplistic. I mean, things like Space Invaders, they're just moving from left to right. There is no artificial intelligence at all in these. I mean, I'm sure the bullets are just random. They're moving left to right. Get to the edge of the screen, they move down a level to keep going. Things like Galaxian had perceived sort of AI. But again, I'm sure these guys, the little characters, they were following predetermined paths. There was no artificial intelligence, and because of the amount of, or the little amount of memory, artificial intelligence and what have you just wasn't something that was capable. It wasn't. People didn't really think about it. So I would say that being able to build like tiredness and what have you into games, early games, was probably quite a tough thing. I mean, some of the track and field, for example. Well, I suppose when you think about it, track and field does technically build in a tiredness aspect, but it's not the character that gets tired, it's the person playing it. Because you're trying to hammer these buttons, you physically get tired playing it. So that's actually quite clever. It's the person getting tired rather than the sprite. It would be a bit shit if you're going hammer and tong, running 100 metres, and you're going really fast, and that you can sustain it, but then the character on screen starts to slow up. I mean, some of the events and like some of the joystick wagglers, I think, what was it? It was the 400 metres in summer games. You had to kind of factor in your stamina. If you just went hell for leather, you would automatically slow up. So some of the games did factor that in. Some of the I can't try to think of an example. Some of the games, for 16-bit and sort of later on, your stamina was something you would get tired. I mean, I suppose like something like Street Fighter, doesn't matter how little energy you got, you still always move at the same speed. It's interesting. Are there any beat 'em ups out there where the more you kind of throw punches or whatever, you start to slow up? The only game I can think of that I used to love, and it's, to my mind, it's the best boxing game on the Commodore 64, and it was Barry McGuigan's boxing. Now, I just used to go hell for leather. I would just go straight all out, try and take the guy down in the first round. But you only had a finite amount of stamina, and then when your stamina got to the bottom, or when you ran out, then your punches would slow up. So you had to kind of think about that. And yeah, some of the games, shoot 'em ups, like your laser gun or your rockets or whatever it is, you could only fire for so long, and then you'd have to kind of wait on the gun to kind of recharge. Personally, I don't like that. I know it might be kind of like real life, but I don't really like that. So I think possibly, Milth, I'm going to kind of disagree with you slightly. I think that having that would actually make the game less fun. I mean, unless you're playing like a boxing game. I mean, I know like your is it Fight Night? Was that the games that came out in the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 by EA Sports? These are like realistic, so yeah, you had to kind of gauge your stamina and your energy, and you couldn't just go all out in the first round. So you'd have to have something like that, but I don't know, something like a shoot 'em up. You would really want to. You would want to have. Well, for me personally, I don't want to kind of run out of bullets. It always annoys me when I'm playing a shoot 'em up and I'm doing particularly well, which doesn't happen very often, and then I notice your bullets start to slow up. One thing that annoys me about Rolling Thunder, one of my favourite arcade games ever, is once you've used up all the bullets, you don't run out of them, but your rate of firing really decreases, and that's quite frustrating. It's the same with time limits. I detest time limits in games. I understand why they put time limits in games, because arcade games, they don't want somebody sitting playing a game and just, I don't know, say for example Ghosts and Goblins. If there was no time limit, you could in theory just park at the side of the screen and just keep shooting zombies and building up extra lives. So you have to put a time limit in to make people kind of move. But yeah, I don't like that. I don't like when they put time limits into home versions. I understand why they do it, because some games would just be too easy if there was no time limit. Rolling Thunder again, it's got, in fact, is there any, I'm trying to think, apart from shoot 'em ups, are there any arcade games that don't have time limits? When you think about it, the real early games that came out, from Atari, it wasn't lives or men, as I like to call them. It was time limits. You put your 10 pence in and you got 60 seconds, and then when the time ran out, it was like game over. But I'm not a fan of time limits in games. I do understand why they do it, especially in arcade games. You do need them in arcade games. It's a good point, Milfy. I don't really know whether would that not suck the enjoyment out of it. One thing that does annoy the hell out of me is where something that in real life you don't even have to think about. Now, if I want to pick up my cup of tea, I just go like that and I pick it up and I drink. I don't have to think about it. If I drop something on the floor, I pick it up, and that is it. Automatic. So why is it when you're playing a game, you've got to be exactly over something? I mean, I think was it some of the games like you know, the Tomb Raider games, you're trying to pick up something, and unless you're right over it, you're missing it, and you're missing it, and you're maybe getting attacked, maybe somebody's shooting at you, and you're trying to pick up a weapon, you're trying to pick up a gun. I mean, I was playing, what was I playing? I was playing GoldenEye on the Steam Deck the other day there. I mean, I'm not a fan of GoldenEye, I just wanted to see how it ran, and it runs beautifully. And I was basically trying to pick up this, I think it was a sniper gun or whatever it was, and this guy was standing next to me and he was just shooting the hell out of me, and I'm trying to pick up this thing. Why would you make that a challenge? You know, it should just be, if you move within the vicinity of the thing, you automatically pick it up. Or else you move within the vicinity and then you press a button to pick it up. So if you don't want it, you don't bother pressing the fire button. But yeah, that annoys the hell out of me, something like that. You know, it's the same way, I suppose you could look at something like Night Law. When you walk through a door, unless you're drunk or maybe you've got something wrong with you, chances are you're going to be able to walk through that door without any issues. So why is it when you're playing a video game, you've got to be perfectly aligned to get through the door? I know in real life you've got to be perfectly aligned to walk through the door, but you can do it. You don't have to think about it, you just walk through the door or walk up steps. Games that you're trying to, how many games have you played when you're trying to walk up a set of steps and there's somebody shooting you and you can't get up them and it's really annoying, or you're trying to get through a door and you're getting shot, you know, Resident Evil, I'm looking at you, you're getting blasted from behind and you're trying to get through this bloody door. Things like that, walking through doors, picking up things should just be something that you're in the vicinity, boom, press the fire button, job's a good one. So anyway, Mulphy, hopefully that kind of answers your question. And as always, Squire, I really do appreciate you taking time to answer or to ask a question. Right, listen, that's quite enough. That's 45 minutes. I did have a topic that I was wanting to talk about in a waffle, but it's this one's ran its course, I think. So I'm going to save that until next week. Now, I do watch all my friends' channels. I don't comment that often. I very rarely comment. I do appreciate everybody that takes time to ask me questions. Please do continue to, if you want to keep the waffle going, please give me questions, give me topics. You know, as I said before, it doesn't have to be what do you think of this or what is your favourite. It can be anything, you know, preferably gaming related, because at the end of the day I am a video games channel. But yeah, please keep the questions coming. I did mention the Steam Deck. I've had it now for coming up to 2 weeks, and I have to say it is brilliant. It has been fantastic. I mean, when I was down in Birmingham for these, you know, last week and then this week, being able to take a system along that has got all these systems. I mean, it plays things like the PlayStation 3, it plays it beautifully, GameCube, Dreamcast, and it looks glorious. I mean, it's a big, I don't know what size the screen is it 7 inch or something? I really don't know, I'm just completely guessing. But yeah, if you're kind of on the fence about getting a Steam Deck, then I would say go for it. You know, it is a lot of money, it absolutely is a lot of money. But if you're thinking about, if you're thinking, is it any good? By the way, I wrongly said a few weeks ago that the battery, I get about 2.5 hours out of the battery. I've never measured it. I think you probably do get more than that, which is quite enough, because at the end of the day, how often are you going to be 2.5 hours away from a charging point? You're going to be home, if you're on a train, plug it into the USB thing, carry a battery charger, whatever. You know, it's fantastic, it's brilliant, it's the best handheld that I own by a country mile. The games play beautifully. The fact that you can play the Xbox as well. I've not tried that yet. I think you can also play the Xbox 360. I've not tried it yet. But yeah, it's mind blowing being able to play. I mean, I was playing Ridge Racer 5, PlayStation 3, Ridge Racer 5 on a handheld, and it plays, again, it plays absolutely gorgeous. MAME, I was playing Ridge Racer 2, and again it's playing at 60 frames a second. It's phenomenal. I am planning to do a video. It's not going to be a technical video, I don't do technical stuff. It's just going to be me letting you see it, giving you my thoughts, letting you see the emulators running, and then you can decide for yourself. But if you are sitting on the fence, you're thinking, don't know whether to go for one, all I will say is if you've got the money and you buy it, I can categorically say you will not be disappointed. Absolutely not. Anyway guys, listen, I'm going to get going. I will be back on Sunday, 7 o'clock until 9, as always. I will try and get out more videos next week. I do apologise for lacking videos, but I've been away. I've had kind of other stuff to kind of deal with. So anyway guys, finally, thank you very much to all your support and your questions and thumbs up and all that bollocks. Till next time guys, as always, thank you very much for watching.